Good afternoon, everyone. It is the 11 o'clock hour, 11 a.m. over here at Pacific Standard Time, 2 p.m. over there Eastern Standard Time. And I just want to say good afternoon to everyone and to thank everyone for joining us today for today's Data Summit topic, Census Bureau Data for Migrant Workers. We are delighted to have you here. My name is Lupe Camacho, and I'm your host for today. Before I go into the agenda, I'd like to cover some basic information and house rules. This session is being recorded. The summit will be recorded for the benefit of attendees and other stakeholders who are unable to be present. For those who do not wish to be recorded, please take this time to opt out and drop from this session. Because of the number of participants on this webinar, everyone has been muted. We encourage you to utilize the chat. We will not be able to answer all questions due to the volume of participants. Any questions that are not answered, please contact ask.census.gov. For any other inquiries regarding apportionment or redistricting, please reach out to our Public Information Office at pio@census.gov. For your convenience and further reference, please expect a PDF of today's presentation and a resource sheet in 2 business days. This webinar is being recorded and will be available at a later date. What is the objective of the data summits? Designed for the novice data user, the series will present a high-level overview of several data products and demonstrate how they can be used to assist organizations and businesses identify data-driven solutions to challenges. Learn about how your responses to Census Bureau surveys are used to create publicly available data products. At the conclusion of the session, you will have an increased awareness of the vast data products available through the U.S. Census Bureau. You will be better equipped to utilize some of the free online tools available on census.gov, and you will have resources and toolkits to assist with navigating data available through census.gov. We offer these summits to thank our many committed 2020 census partners, by showing them that the value of partnership extends beyond the decennial count. Census Bureau data can help organizations make data-driven decisions. Today's summit is one example of how the Census Bureau also offers support to help you with accessing and understanding this data. Our opening speaker today is Ms. Maria Lemus, District Director representing and speaking on behalf of Dr. Joaquin Arambula, Assembly Member for the 31st District of California. Following Ms. Lemus will be our key presenter, Armando Mendoza, from the Customer Liaison and Marketing Services Office, Data Dissemination and Training Branch of the U.S. Census Bureau. After our key presenter, there will be a question and answer session. I will then present some Census Bureau resources, and we'll also conduct the wrap-up. Before I turn it over to Ms. Lemus for opening remarks, I'd like to mention that the apportionment data has already been released to the public. The link to the full release is in this presentation, which will be shared after this webinar. Any media-related inquiries should be referred to our Public Information Office at pio@census.gov. As a friendly reminder, we'd like to inform you again that this webinar is being recorded and will be made available at a later date. Also, please expect a PDF of today's presentation and a resource sheet within 2 business days. After the census, shifts in population and congressional representation among the states require the redrawing of district boundaries within those states. The Census Bureau provides states with the local area population counts that they need to redraw or redistrict their congressional and other legislative boundaries. The full redistricting data with toolkits for ease of use will be delivered by September 30th. The Census Bureau will notify the public prior to the release of the data. For more information on redistricting, including links to geographic support products such as maps, tables, and files, visit the Redistricting Press Kit at the link listed on this slide. Please note that the full data will be released by August 12th. However, the full redistricting data with toolkits for ease of use will be made publicly available by September 30th. Our opening speaker today is Ms. Maria Limas, District Director for Dr. Joaquin Arambula, who is the Assembly Member for the California's 31st District, located in the central region of the state, and which encompasses 41% of rural cities and communities within the County of Fresno. Dr. Arambula is Chair of the Assembly Budget Subcommittee Number 1 on Health and Human Services. He is also a member of the Assembly Select Committee on the Census and was a strong advocate for outreach and messaging to encourage everyone to participate in the 2020 decennial count. Dr. Arambula has been a long-standing advocate for improving healthcare access and affordability for working families and is the author of the Assembly Bill 4, known as Health for All Bill, that seeks to expand full-scope Medi-Cal coverage to all undocumented adults. We understand that his busy schedule did not allow him to be present here today. However, we are very thankful to have Ms. Maria Limas, his district director, here with us to provide some opening remarks on his behalf. Welcome, Ms. Limas. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Good morning on the west side and good afternoon on the east coast. My name is Maria Reina Lemus. I am the district director for Assembly Member Dr. Joaquin Arambula, who represents the 31st Assembly District in California. The 31st District represents 40% of the city of Fresno, which is the 5th largest city in the state of California, and rural communities in Fresno County. Fresno County is known for its agriculture, where many of our farm worker families reside. And those are areas that are represented by Assemblymember Arambula. That is why the census was such an important issue for him and for the state of California as a whole. It is about resources and representation, because representation matters. That's how federal and state resources are appropriated, and for communities that are in the 31st District, those resources are vital for the well-being of our families, specifically our farm workers and our low income. The state of California invested a vast amount of resources to ensure people got counted in the census 2020. The Assembly member took an active role in census work. He was part of the Select Committee on the Census for the State Assembly. He hosted complete count committee meetings in Fresno to ensure people in communities were informed of activities leading up to the census count. He was a strong supporter and advocated for an increase in state funding to go to CBOs that played a crucial role in doing outreach. And during this census count, we found out that CBOs, something we already know, they're their trusted messengers. So having them doing canvassing or communicating with community was so important for communities to speak Spanish or other languages, and specifically our farm working community. So the Assembly member not only advocated for the funding, but he actually went and met with farm workers. He went out to the fields. And as we all know, COVID made this census a lot more difficult and limited the person-to-person outreach. But the Assembly member didn't lose an opportunity. We, as an office, we sent out mailers to our constituents. We tabled at events wherever possible once the restrictions were lifted a little bit. And he ensured that anything we did included census messaging. So that's how important it became for him. As an elected official representing a district with high rates of poverty, ensuring an accurate and complete count was of great importance. And we ensured that messaging was consistent, because good messaging and getting people counted will signify getting resources for the communities that we represent. So thank you. And I'm not sure if there's any Spanish speaking audience, but I'll just say something briefly in Spanish. El Valle Central, que es representado por el asambleísta Arámbula, es de gran importancia para el estado de California. El asambleísta quiso asegurar que el estado invirtiera recursos para asegurarnos que nuestras comunidades, especialmente nuestras comunidades inmigrantes y trabajadores del campo, fueran contados. Nuestra oficina jugó un rol muy importante en asegurar que las fundaciones no lucrativas aquí en el Valle Central pudieran ser esas personas que daban a saber el mensaje y la importancia de que las comunidades fueran contadas, porque al final del día ser contados significaba recursos, más recursos para las comunidades rurales que él representa. Así que siempre tuvo el census y el conteo en todas las actividades que hacíamos como oficina. So with that, I thank you very much for your time, and he apologizes that he couldn't be here in person, but to him, an accurate census count is important, and it matters for representation. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ms. Limas, for those wonderful remarks. Thank you for doing them in Spanish. That is wonderful. Muchas gracias por eso, Señora Lemos. We appreciate all the support, and we appreciate all the support that the Assembly member provided the U.S. Census Bureau throughout the decennial count. So we thank you so much for your time, and we thank you for being present here to speak on his behalf and provide us such wonderful remarks. Thank you very much, Ms. Limas. At this time, I would like to introduce our key presenter, Armando Mendoza, the Data Dissemination Specialist for the Customer Liaison and Marketing Services Office, Data Dissemination and Training Branch of the U.S. Census Bureau. Armando began his career with the Census Bureau in 2009 and has served in many capacities, including leadership roles through the 2010 and the early preparations of the 2020 decennial. He was born in Chihuahua, Mexico, and has attained his bachelor's in business administration from the University of Phoenix and his MBA from Chapman University. But before I turn the presentation over to Armando, I'd like to announce that the floor is open for questions while he is presenting. We have a team that will be managing the chat, so please feel free to submit your questions via chat. Armando, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Lupe, and thank you, Ms. Limas, for your remarks. And thank everyone for joining us today. My name is Armando Mendoza, a Data Dissemination Specialist with the U.S. Census Bureau. The Data Dissemination and Training Branch mission is to serve organizations like yours by providing free-of-cost workshops and training sessions on accessing the vast number of data sets available. These data can be used in a number of ways, such as performing community analysis, supporting grant proposals, look for trends and demographics, or creating a business plan, and more importantly, to make informed decisions. Here's a list of objectives for today's session. At the end of this workshop, you'll know some of the major census surveys and data tools available on our website. You will be able to describe the differences between the Decennial Census and the American Community Survey. These two programs help us understand population counts and characteristics of the people living in our communities. Lastly, you will be able to navigate through our website to find valuable resources and data tools. I will take you through a live demonstration of some of the most popular data tools. However, we have in attendance a large and diverse audience with diverse levels of expertise in mining for data and different data needs. Thus, this live demonstration is a high-level demo of some of these tools. It is not intended to be a full training session. Nevertheless, we want to encourage you to contact us if you are interested in receiving in-depth training for your organization's specific data needs. We will cover how you can get in touch with us later on the session. So in addition to the Decennial Census, we also conduct an economic census every 5 years, in years N and 2 and N7. The economic census allows us to better understand our economy by providing data on employer businesses, detailed data by industry and different levels of geography. Two surveys that are highlighted on this slide, the American Community Survey, known as the ACS, and the Current Population Survey. The American Community Survey is our premier source of information about our nation's changing population, housing, and workforce. I will provide more information on this survey later in the presentation. The Current Population Survey is one of the oldest and most well-recognized surveys in the United States. This survey is sponsored jointly by the U.S. Census Bureau and the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, as it is the primary source of labor force statistics for the population of the United States. And a major component of the survey is our nation's unemployment rate that typically gets published the first Friday of every month. The Census Bureau also produces annual population estimates. These are the most up-to-date population numbers for the nation, states, counties, cities, and towns between decennial censuses. Population estimates are used in federal funding allocations, as well as survey controls for some of our surveys. A complete list of all the surveys and programs are available on our website at census.gov. And later in the live demonstration, I'll be showing you where those reside. Now I will walk you through two of our data products, the Decennial Census and the American Community Survey. These two programs provide detailed data from the national level down to the community level, such as census tracts and zip codes. On the right-hand side, you can see the topics covered by the Decennial Census. The census lets us know how many people live in the United States and basic demographic information such as age, sex, relationships, Hispanic or Latino origin, and race and ethnicity. It also provides a housing count and housing tenure, meaning if the housing unit is rented or owned. On the left-hand side, you will see the history of the census questionnaire. If you look at the 1940 to 2000 time period, there were two types of census questionnaires used during this time. The short form, which collected basic demographic information, and the long form that collected detailed characteristics of the household. The long form has now been replaced by the American Community Survey. This is why we now only have a short form questionnaire as a part of the Decennial Census. Now for a quick overview of the American Community Survey. This survey is the nation's most current, reliable, and accessible data source for social, economic, and housing demographic data at many geographic levels. It is a sample survey in which 3.5 million housing units are randomly selected to participate each year. There are over 35 topics covered by the ACS, such as age, commuting to work, income, and employment. In the next slide, I will provide a list of all these topics. We have three key annual data releases from the ACS. The one-year estimates are for areas or geographies with a population threshold of 65,000 or more. The one-year supplemental estimates, which are for areas with populations of 20,000 or more. And finally, we have a five-year estimates. These are for all levels of geography, regardless of the population size. So think of small towns, zip codes, and census tracts. To learn more about this survey, you can visit our website at census.gov/ACS. There you can access sample questionnaires, learn about why we ask this question, find guidance for data users, and access to our methodology and technical documentation. This slide shows the different topics covered by the American Community Survey, organized under four different categories: demographic, social, housing, and economic characteristics. We have a data profile for each of these four general categories, which are a great place to start for individuals that want to better understand their local communities, and for those individuals that are not familiar with that data. Looking at the demographic characteristics, you're able to get data such as age, sex, race, and Hispanic origin. Note that these topics are also covered in the 2020 census and are highlighted in red. Census data becomes outdated with the passing years in the decade. The ACS will provide updated estimates on these key demographics. The social characteristics category has the greatest number of topics, including educational attainment, the language that is spoken at home, marital status, and other characteristics. The housing characteristics topics allows you to better understand the housing stock, as well as the affordability of our community. How much people spend on rent or mortgage as a percentage of their income. And the economic characteristics include income, employment, and occupation, among other topics. So what is the difference between the Decennial Census and the ACS? The census happens every decade, as most of us know, and it is considered 100% count of the nation's people and its population. It is the official count of the population. In between the Decennial Census, the Census Bureau publishes population estimates, and these estimates become updated counts for the nation, state, counties, and incorporated cities. The other difference is that the census is a point-in-time count, with April 1st being the reference date. It is more like a static picture of what the country looked like on that decade. The ACS, on the other hand, is more like a moving picture. It produces annual estimates. It is a survey, which means it is sample data. Only a sample of population in the survey is at one time. 3.5 million housing units, or about 291,000 households, get selected randomly monthly. The ACS is great for looking at trends and making comparisons over time. It produces period estimates. 1 year represents 12 months of data, and the 5-year data set represents 60 months of data collection. This is a brief overview of how the census geography is defined, because sometimes people call and they may ask, I want to get educational attainment for Floral Park. That happens to be a neighborhood, but is not legally defined or boundary as a census geography. So I'll begin at the left with the map of the nation. In it, notice the state of Colorado towards the center of the country. We'll keep moving to the right, depicting Saguache County within the state of Colorado, followed by a census tract within that county. Next is the census block group within the county. And finally, there's a single block within the block group. It is important to note that the block data is only available from the Decennial Census. The ACS smallest geography level is at the block group level. Now that I have provided an overview of the census and the different data sources, I will go over data tools that you can use to access as it relates to socioeconomic data. It is important to note that the Census Bureau does not collect data specifically to migrant workers. Nevertheless, the ACS can give you an insight where migrant and agricultural populations may concentrate, and the statistics that will allow you to gauge the well-being of these communities. I will also provide you with some external resources from other agencies that collect data specifically to migrant and farm workers, if this resources is something that you would like to explore. For the past several years, the Census Bureau has designed, developed, and launched some outstanding data tools to give you access to census data in a simple, straightforward method, and in ways that many people can understand and enjoy. Before I go into the live demo, I would like to share some information on the external sources that I mentioned earlier for migrant and farm workers, and also how you may contact me or a branch directly. Here are some external hyperlinks to resources. The U.S. Department of Agriculture Economic Research Service provides information on a range of farm workers' labor issues. The U.S. Department of Labor collects data on face-to-face interviews with crop workers. And the National Center for Farm Workers provides estimates of the population of farm workers in the United States. On this slide, you find my contact information and my email address. And below, you find how you can access our branch directly by sending an email to census@datacensus.gov or call in the 844 number.
Okay, we're going to go ahead
Thank you.
and, oh, thank you. Sorry about that, Armando. Didn't mean to cut you off. We're going to go ahead and give you presenter access so that you can conduct your live demo.
Thank you.
There
So
you
give
go.
me a second.
Sure.
If there are any questions before I start the live demo, if we can address them, I will. If nothing, I'll go ahead and start the live demonstration.
We do have one question in the chat, but I think maybe after your live demo, that information might become a little bit more clear. I will certainly, read out loud the question right after your live demo.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thanks.
Can you see my page? That should be the Census Bureau page.
Yes, we can see it, Armando.
Okay, so if you haven't visited the Census Bureau page, the URL is census.gov. We typically recommend you use Chrome as a browser. So this webpage is full of information, but it's constantly changing. I'm going to give you a few tips, then explore the data tools. You can see right there, as Lupe mentioned, right up front, is telling us that redistricting data release is on August 12th, which is ahead of the original date of August 16th. Toward the right of the page, you see a number of U.S. economic indicators like international trade goods, manufacturing goods, monthly wholesale inventory, construction spending, housing start. There's a wealth of information from several economic programs on this page. Right at the top is the population estimate, and you can see on the right-hand side that right now the population is 332 million. This is based, the population estimates work like this. We take the latest census count as a base. We take into account the birth rate, which in this case 8. There's one birth every 8 seconds. There's one death every 12 seconds, and there's one international migrant every 674 seconds. That yields one person every 22 seconds. On the right, you see the world population, with China being the largest and most populous country in the world, followed very closely by China. We also conduct population projections. These are not directly here, but I was looking at a really astounding statistic. It is projected that by 2050, India is going to surpass China by 300 million people. So if you can imagine that, almost the size of the population. As you continue to scroll down, you can see the United States population growth by region. You can see the age distribution. If you scroll down, you can see the most populous states, like in the case of California, Texas, and Florida being at the top 3. And then on the right-hand side, you can see the highest density places in the country, like in the case of District of Columbia and New Jersey and Rhode Island. I'm simply going to return to the main page by clicking on the census logo. And I'm going to show you one of the most popular tools, which is called Quick Facts. And it is called Quick Facts because you can actually get a number of data sets from this tool. As I click, the system immediately refreshes, and the United States is the default. However, you can add up to 6 geographies, and you can compare them side to side. I'm going to type Fresno City in California. You see that the system is refreshed and added Fresno. I'm going to add another town, and I'll start with Visalia, which is nearby Fresno, and I'm going to add one more in the same area. These are typically high concentration of migrant and farm workers. System is going to refresh, Now you can see the two geography selections that I had and the default. For demonstrative purposes, I'm just going to deselect the United States. Here you find information from the population estimates program that I mentioned earlier. And then you have some data related to the population estimates program instead of age and sex, race and Hispanic and origin, some population characteristics, housing, families and living arrangements from the American Community Survey, computer and internet use, education, some health information, and some economic and transportation, income and poverty. So again, this is quick facts, very easy tool to use. It's one of those tools that we launched that has become a really popular tool because it's easy of use. You can see right here that we're now displaying the data at a table format, and the number 3 is telling us that we selected 3 geographies. The other feature that the system allows is for you to map that information. So I'm going to click on map and select either city. System is going to refresh. And display the boundaries for the geographic selections that I selected. You're also able to select a fact. So for instance, you can click down on this chevron and look at the percentage of persons under 5. The system is going to refresh, and as you hover over the map, it'll tell you that there's approximately 8.2% of children under 5 for Fresno City. You can zoom in and out. I continue to zoom out a little bit. We'll be able to see the other geographic levels. And even if you're not selected, that geography, when you hover over the mouse pointer, it'll tell you the characteristic for that area. Next, we can display the chart of these cities along with many other cities in the same geographic level. You can see right here, there's Visalia, Fresno, Tulare, followed by Acton CDP. CDP is an acronym that the Census Bureau uses for cities that are not incorporated. And CDP stands for Census Designated Place. So anytime you see a CDP or names followed by CDP, that means that that geographic level is an incorporated city. Many times people are looking for an incorporated cities, and because we don't define them as an incorporated, they don't realize that the data is available. So just keep in mind the CDPs are unincorporated areas. Then I'm going to show you the dashboard, but it's actually going to show us the table, the map, and the chart all together. Right here. Furthermore, you can actually share this information, and you can share this in many social media outlets. You can print it, you can download it into a CSV file, or you can embed the hyperlink on your own web page. I'm going to go back to the census main page. And next, I'm going to demonstrate data census.gov. This is a replacement for the American Community Survey. This tool is the most comprehensive data tool, and it will be the main source for the 2020 Decennial Census. We only have a few minutes to highlight a few data mapping options for this tool because this tool alone can take up to an hour to explore its more powerful features. Data census.gov is still going through several refinements to reach parity with the decommissioned American Fact Finder, but it does offer new features absent on the American Fact Finder. To find it, I'm going to hover over the Explore Data, and I'm going to click on Explore Data Main. One of the nice features of this system is that you quickly can find, without understanding the census lingo, you can really find information that is very easy by simply typing a geography. Bakersfield, and then I'm going to type, say, language. You click and the system is going to refresh. You can see here there's language spoken at home, and it's going to create a table that tells us a lot of characteristics, a lot of granular data in terms of language proficiency. If you scroll down to the right, you can see the language proficiency. So for example, speak English only, but speak very well. Speak English only very well. Speak English less than very well. It also, sorry, I lost my, can you guys still hear me?
Yeah, we can see your screen.
You see the big Excel spreadsheet?
The languages spoken at home.
What do you see?
The languages spoken at home, the Census Bureau website with the spreadsheet. Yeah.
Yeah, I got it. I forgot at the beginning of the webinar to apologize in advance for technical issues since COVID-19 has got us homebound, and it's almost 2 years. We still haven't perfected. Actually, not us. The systems are not perfect, but they're a great complement to allows us to continue to provide these trainings for you. Okay, so it also, you can create a map. I'm going to, this is an inclusion of a map feature that was not available before. I'm going to click on Maps. System is going to refresh, and then I'll give you a quick overview of how this map is defined. So here are the population 5 years and under estimate. There's one geographic level selected. This is from the 2019, in other words, the latest data available from the ACS. The source is the 1 year estimates, and the default is a place. You can also look at trends by simply selecting a different vintage by clicking on this chevron, and to go back in time to the inception of the ACS. I'm going to select a different geographic level, and I'm going to select a census tract. A census tract is a neighborhood. The system is already refreshed, giving you the boundaries for every census tract in and around Fresno, and you can zoom in and out. You can select all of the tracts, or you can select them individually. I'll return to the main page and show you another great feature, which is the advanced search. I want to again go back and look at geography. I'm going to select the census tract. I'm going to tell the system where the census tract is, what state. I'm going to tell the system in which county. I'm going to select Kern County. And then here you can either select individual census tracts, or you can select all the census tracts within Kern County by selecting this. You can see that my selection of my filters has been selected here. So right now, all census tracts within Kern County, California. Click on search. I'm going to open this ACS demographic and housing estimates. Here again, you can look at the table. You can download this table. Another great feature is that you are now you are able to select just a few characteristics if you're not interested in everything that is included in here. Say you're interested in the total population and you just want to know the percentage and the numerical value for males and females by simply left clicking, dragging your mouse and selecting that area, right click, and you can export this entire table by clicking here and export it into an Excel file or a CSV format, or you can copy the headers. You will only be copying that selection and you will be able to paste it on an Excel file. This is one of the great tools and one of the good improvements for Data Census Gov as opposed to the American Fact Finder. Again, this is a very comprehensive data tool and the most robust tool. So we encourage you, if you need to get in-depth training specific for your organization specific needs, please feel free to reach out to us. You can further customize this table by either adding more geographies here. You can deselect, not displaying the margin of error, and other things. I'm going to go back here. I'm going to show you another very useful tool. It's called Inherited Profiles. That is one of the few reports that we have that describe the statistics in a non-technical form. It has already some built-in graphics in it and some chart graphics, and it's a great report of about 35 topics. To get to it, the easiest way is simply to type census.gov. This tool resides directly in the American Community Survey. So census.gov/ACS, enter, and it's going to bring you to the landing page for the American Community Survey, where you can find all the technical documentation, sample size. As I mentioned earlier, you can look at the questions that we ask and why we ask those questions. Again, it has all the technical documentation for this specific survey. But in the interest of time, I just wanted to show you the narrative profile. So I'm going to go back to the left pane and click on Data. Select Data Tables and Tools. And I'm going to generate a narrative profile. The other great thing about the narrative profile is that now it's available at a very small geographic places that were not before a couple of years ago. So there's things that you can look at the nation, at the state, at the county. When you see place, remember, these are cities, incorporated cities, and unincorporated cities. Census tracts, which are typical neighborhoods, zip code tabulation areas, metropolitan and micropolitan statistical areas, or you can look at data for the American Indian, Alaska Native areas and Hawaiian homelands. I'm going to select a place. By the way, you're always going to be, the default is going to be the latest data for the American Community Survey from the 5-year estimates. This is the 2015 to 2019 5-year estimates, but you can go back in time to other vintages, again, to do comparisons. I'm going to select the place. I'll tell the system where the place is, California, and I'm going to select, again, another place in the high concentration of agriculture areas. Let me see, so let's go with, Apologize for the long list. California is a very, very big state. I don't want to go too far. We pass it, so it's coming up. Fresno City. Then you click Get Narrative Profile. The system is going to refresh and provide you this very comprehensive report for Fresno City in California. So here at the top, we have households and families. There were approximately 168,625 households in Fresno City. The average household size was 3.06 people. There were 13.4% female householders. There were 39.5% of the households that have one or more people under 18 years old. If you continue to scroll down, you can see marital status. You can see grandparents as caregivers. You'll be able to tell nativity and foreign-born population. The ACS does collect that data on citizenship and has nothing to do with legal status. We simply ask, were you born in the United States, yes or no? If you say yes, you're part of the native population. If you say no, you're part of the foreign-born population. And then part B, we ask, have you become a naturalized citizen, yes or no? And so here's the data. So approximately 20.4% in Fresno City were foreign-born, and about of that 20%, about 46.1 became naturalized citizens. You can see the regions of birth of the foreign-born population for Fresno, Latin America being very prominent. Here's the language spoken at home, which is also very prevalent. Geographic mobility tells us the percentage people that live in the same household as a year ago, so 83.4 for Fresno. And if they move, they move to a different residence, but in the same county, different county, but the same state, different state, or they move from abroad. Below is educational attainment. So we have here some granular data, less than high school diploma. This is for the population universe that is 25 years and over. And the less than high school diploma, or the 22.6%, is considered the high school dropout rate for Fresno City. Then you have some other data, high school diploma, some college degree, associate degree, bachelor's degree, college or graduate professional degree. Here's some disability status, employer status, industries. Again, it's a very comprehensive tool. I mentioned that you can also look at the table. You can look at the data on a table format. So you all have to do is click on that table. You continue to scroll down, occupations, commuting to work, the mode of transportation. So in Fresno City, 78% use a car, truck, or van and drove alone. About 12% carpool, about 4.7% work at home. Is income and the median household income for Fresno, the income distribution between males and females, sources of income, poverty and participation in government programs, health insurance coverage. We began collecting health insurance coverage in 2008, so we have that information. Below you have the population by age and the median age. In Fresno City, here you have the race and Hispanic origin, population, housing inventory and characteristics, occupied housing units, financial characteristics. So you kind of get the idea. It's a very comprehensive, very useful tool. To get to another geography level, like you can get data at the census tract that you live, or you can look at a county. It is the same process. It's the same process of getting the data and creating the narrative profile. One caveat, you can only do one at a time. So this isn't the one similar to datacensus.gov, you can actually add several geographies to be displayed side by side, or the quick facts as well. So one at a time from this tool. I'm gonna go back to the census page. I mentioned we do a lot of surveys and programs. If you scroll down, if you hover over this survey and programs, the Census Bureau conducts about 130 surveys. The other small tool that I wanted to show you that is a very interactive tool is called the Small Area Income and Poverty, and it's right here. It's displayed right here. This tool is a very easy to use, and this area of income and poverty estimates program is a single year estimate of income and poverty for all the United States counties, as well as schools age children in poverty for 13,000 plus school districts. SAPIE for short, we love acronyms at the Census Bureau. SAPIE is the interactive tool, very easy to use. Here we have all ages, but you can look at different age categories. So under age, ages 5 to 17, you can look at under 5, you can look at median household income. The default, again, is the country, but you can filter by states. So we can look at California, we can look at, well, any other state. You sort of kind of get the idea. For time purposes, I'm just going to select California, click OK. You can drill down further into the counties in California. So let's see, Fresno County, click OK. Same principle as you hover over the selected characteristics, in this case, the median household income. As you hover over the mouse pointer, it'll tell you the estimate of the median household income for this different counties. So in Madera County is 61,000, and Fresno is 59,000, and San Benito is 84,000. This is great feature, a great visual representation that you can quickly look at the differences and, well, and any of the characteristics that are available. And you'll be surprised, sometimes there's significant differences, particularly at the census tract level, where a census tract may be divided by a highway, a road, a freeway, and you see significant differences in some of the characteristics from the ACS. You can also scroll down and look at school districts within the county. I'm just going to select one, Adelanto Elementary School, and the system is going to refresh. Again, same principle. Here's the estimate. As you scroll over, you can look at under 5. System is going to refresh. And again, you get the idea. I don't know why it didn't refresh down to the school district level, but you sort of get the idea. And of course, we're always here to help you. As I mentioned at the start of the presentation, the Data Dissemination and Training Branch is an evergreen program. In other words, we don't go into hibernation between the decennial census. We get really, really busy helping organizations like you, helping you to learn about the tools, because we're constantly changing. We are constantly striving to make things better and more useful. I'm going to go back to the census main page and show you the one last tool that I wanted to show you. I'm going to hover over survey and programs. That one is not displayed here, so I'm going to select all surveys and programs. And I know that the one that I'm looking for is over here on the 6th page, which is really close to SAPIE, the one that I just demonstrated. So I show you SAPIE, the Small Area Income and Poverty Estimates. Here's another Small Area Health Insurance Estimates program, or SAHIE. Gonna click in here. Very similar to the other tool that I showed you. Here's the interactive tool. The layout is a little different. Here, the characteristics are uninsured and insured. This one doesn't have school districts. It has the states, counties, and then some race categories and age categories and both sexes. So I'm going to simply select California, click OK, and I want to look at the age group under 65 years old. Click OK. Again, you can zoom in and out. And as you hover over the mouse pointer, it'll tell you the percentage of people under 65 years old. The darker the geographic level, the higher the percentage. You notice also in parentheses, it's showing the margin of error. You can look at races and select, for example, Hispanic of any race. Remember, Hispanics can be of any race. And click OK. And same principle. As you hover over the mouse, you can look at the counties, not only California, anywhere you can see in the map. So with that, I'm done with the live demonstration. I hope that this was useful. Thank you so much for your attendance.
Thank you very much, Armando, and I'll be waiting to get share. Let me go ahead and share. And again, thank you very much for your wonderful presentation. That concludes the presentation, but we will be going into the question and answer. I still am very amazed at the wealth of data that the Census Bureau has available. But now we're going to go ahead and move into, at this time, to have Armando answer some questions from our audience. So I will begin with the first question that we have. So the first question comes from Herbert Lee. The question is, data collection of undocumented migrant workers can be very challenging. So how accurate and reliable is this data to pinpoint this segment of population so we can understand where services can be enhanced?
So we don't ask the question. Remember, even on the ACS, what we ask about the citizenship status, the legal question is not something that the Census Bureau collects. So we don't know. We simply know that Hispanics, not to say that the Hispanics are the only group of people that are undocumented. They could be from anywhere in the world, but the Census Bureau does not collect that data.
So just to kind of make it clear, we don't collect the data for undocumented migrant workers. Is that correct, Armando? Okay.
Yes.
All right. Okay, let me move on to the next question. It comes to us from Emily Moss. She states, I worked with a tribal community and I've had a hard time finding ACS data for race/ethnicity on the reservation. To access the estimate data, she goes to and she puts down the link, which looks like it's a link at the data.census.gov location. And it looks like she's looking at the ACS 5-year estimates for 2019. And then she says that she selects the reservation for the tribe that she works with. And she wants to know, is there a reason race ethnicity data wouldn't be available at this level?
It should be able to be there, Emily. And, you know, in the interest of time, I'll be happy to help you offline. Again, we're going to be providing a copy of the presentation, but simply just you send me an email. My email address is Armando, ARMANDO, .Mendoza, MENDOZA, at census.gov, and I will be able to provide you with the information that you need.
All right, thank you very much, Armando. She did go on and ask an additional question. I guess it's about other languages. I'll go ahead and read it just so that you can address it. From Emily Moss. I work in public health, and we had people with limited English proficiency who came to our mass vaccination events. We are trying to get a sense of what languages we might need to have translation and interpretation for. While we can identify Spanish as one language, the 5-year estimates have other language categories that are really large, hard to pin which languages are, for example, Asian, Pacific Island languages and other languages. So do you have any information on that, Armando, for her?
Yes, Emily, and I'll be able to provide you when we get in touch offline to provide you where you can find more granular data in terms of language.
Okay, thank you, Armando. The next question comes from Juan Albertorio. Did the census quick facts can also provide estimates based on a selected amount of counties?
Yeah, quick facts with the only caveat, and I suppose there are counties that are less 5,000, but yeah, the only caveat is that on the fact finds, you can actually compare up to 6 counties side by side. Okay,
thank you. I think that was the operative question there. Thank you, Armando. And then we have a question from Martha Lagasse. Is there a language table with very detailed language breakdown for a given area? I believe this table has broad categories only. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. The ACS won't have the amount of languages that were included on the 2020 census, but there are some other granular data. And I encourage you, Martha, as well as Emily, just send me an email and I'll be happy to kind of walk you through some examples of more granular data. Again, it won't be as detailed as the 2020 census, but there are some other data that we collect that is available.
Okay, thank you very much, Armando. We do have a question regarding the data that was provided today from Alfonso Rodriguez. He typed in, I thought this webinar was about migrant workers. Instead, it is just basic information or introduction to census data tools. Do you want to just give us again a little overview, Armando? I know you spoke of it earlier in the presentation about the data regarding migrant workers and its availability and obviously our collectability of that information?
Yeah, and I apologize. Maybe the title is misleading, and that's why that part of my presentation was focused on access and census data. As I mentioned during the presentation, the Census Bureau does not collect data specifically to migrant or farm workers. There are other organizations that collect surveys, that gather data, but the Census Bureau as an agency does not collect migrant workers' data.
Okay, thank you. I think Alfonso also had a follow-up question. Which migrant worker data is available at the census website, if there's any?
There isn't. And again, as I mentioned, some of the socioeconomic characteristics that I display for the Hispanic population, but again, we cannot make a distinction from the Hispanic population. Again, not that only the Hispanics are migrant workers. There's people in the Midwest that may be working on a meat processing plant from other parts of the world. But again, we don't have the distinction. We don't have a survey collecting data specifically for migrant or farm workers.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for that, Armando. There's one more question that I see in the chat from Helen Maiden. I hope I'm saying it correctly, Helen. There used to be, this is her statement, there used to be a phone number where a data could obtain live help, a data user, I'm assuming she's stating. As a grant writer, this was priceless. Is that still available as an option?
It is on the slide where my contact information, you have the data dissemination and training branch 800 number, as well as a email address. Later in this presentation, Lupe has an additional slide where he can provide you information for our branch, where if people are available, they are able to answer some questions. It depends where in the country you're calling from. There's myself and approximately 30 other individuals throughout the country that provide support. So it really depends. When you call, they may not be able to give you live support that you need, but they will shift that information to the appropriate person.
All right, thank you very much, Armando. And I wanted to share with everyone very quickly that you will be receiving, as an attendee to this summit, you will be receiving these presentation slides in PDF form, along with a resource sheet, which will have contact information for direct contact, both with our key presenter, Armando Mendoza, and his branch here in the United States Census Bureau. There is one last question that just popped up, so I'll go ahead and voice it. This is from Unit 608, Kaylin. And I think this is going to be our last question. Armando, does the census have crime data? That's the question.
I'm sorry, what was the characteristic?
Does the census have crime data?
We do. We do a national crime statistics that is for, I believe, is sponsored by the Department of Justice, but we do a crime survey, typically for things that do not get reported to the police. I don't remember all the specifics about the survey, but again, if you send me an email, I'll be happy to provide you the link and the resources and what do we collect on crime. But we do have a crime survey.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Armando. And it appears at this time that we don't have any more questions in the chat. So that's going to conclude our question and answer portion. Let me go back to here we go. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and continue on what we have been discussing. I would like to show you some very important resources before you go today, because if you've enjoyed today's summit, there's a lot more where that came from. There is so much at your fingertips on Census.gov's Census Academy page. There you can find valuable information on data dissemination and training. There are options to request a free data training for your organization, free of charge. You can't beat that. You can also receive our data gems, which are short how-to videos aimed at helping you increase your knowledge of census data. And guess what? We can deliver those to your inbox. And you can also gain access to our easy to learn at your own pace tutorials. We are really here for you. You can also interact with our instructors on the webinars. So to expand a little bit more on what I just said, the Census Bureau has a team of specialists who can assist in bringing the world of data to you by providing trainings, workshops, and presentations to you and your organization at no cost. Our team offers presentations and trainings tailored to the customer's needs, and they can show you a variety of census data tools, data sets, and programs both virtually and in person. Please note that the in-person services are currently suspended due to COVID restrictions. Now let me show you something. We have had several data summits that were conducted starting in the month of April of this year, 2021. You can find all of the information on the 2021 Data Summit page on census.gov. In the search bar at the top, simply type in 2021 Data Summit Series to land at the page seen on this slide. There are 19 options. To view them all, please be sure to click on the Show More. Look to see which ones suit your needs, and you may view the recording upon availability. It is a one-stop shop. Ladies and gentlemen, we want to know your thoughts because there is always room for improvement. There are 3 ways to tell us what you think about today's session. First, you may contact your regional office via phone or email. Allow me to provide you the contact information for the regional offices in a moment. Feel free to contact the regional office that handles your state, or as you've been doing over the last year, connect with your local partnership specialist for any of your needs and or thoughts, and they will share it with us. At this time, the chat box is open and available to make any suggestions about what you would like to see in a future data summit. Now, allow me to share with you some information about our regional offices. The Atlanta Regional Office may be contacted by email at atlanta.regional.office@census.gov. The Chicago Regional Office may be contacted at chicago.regional.office@census.gov. The Denver Regional Office may be contacted by email at denver.regional.office@census.gov. The Los Angeles Regional Office may be contacted at los.angeles.regional.office@census.gov. The New York Regional Office may be contacted at new.york.regional.office@census.gov. And the Philadelphia Regional Office may be contacted at philadelphia.regional.office@census.gov. Once again, feel free to contact the regional office that handles your state, or as you have been doing so over the last year, connect with your local partnership specialist for any of your needs and or thoughts, and they will share it with us. Thank you very much to all of you for joining us today for the Data Summit, Census Bureau Data for Migrant Workers. I would like to thank Census leadership, our speaker, Ms. Maria Lemus, and our key presenter, Armando Mendoza. Our objectives for this summit were to increase your awareness of the vast data products available through the U.S. Census Bureau, to assist you in being better equipped to utilize some of the free online tools available on census.gov, and to provide you with the resources and toolkits that assist in navigating data available through census.gov. Ladies and gentlemen, we encourage you to provide feedback. We encourage you to tell us if you thought something was missing, what you would like to hear more of or less of. We'd appreciate your feedback so that we can improve these sessions. This concludes today's webinar. As a friendly reminder, please expect a PDF of today's presentation and a resource sheet within 2 business days. This webinar was recorded and will be available at a later date. Thank you for joining us, and have a wonderful afternoon to all of you that attended. Thank you very much.